Learn how to write November in calligraphy 8 different ways. We'll show you a variety of styles and tools. Let's get started with faux calligraphy. So I'm just using a regular pen. This is a Pilot G2, and I'm using marker paper on top of my guide sheets so that I can kind of see through the transparent marker paper and see the guidelines below. I'm doing faux calligraphy, and this time I'm adding the shades as I go. So everywhere that I have a downstroke, I'm going to add a second line to make it into a shade instead of leaving the whole word as a monoline word. Now I'm using a brush pen. I chose a sort of cranberry color for my brush pen. This is a Pentel Touch flexible brush pen. And I chose cranberry just because November reminds me of cranberries. Sometimes as you go, you can use the brush pen to touch up the areas that aren't as smooth as you would like them to be. I usually try to do that as I go rather than waiting until the end, because if the ink dries and then you go back over it, it can darken it up a little bit. I'm using the same brush pen, and now I'm doing a different style called bounce lettering. So certain parts of the letters are smaller and certain parts are more exaggerated and taller. And this overall makes the word November look a little bit more of a modern calligraphy style. And specifically here, I'm focusing on making the O and the E's smaller and shorter than normal. Now I'm using an iPad and an Apple Pencil to do calligraphy. I'm using our Duo toned brush. You can get this free Procreate brush at lovelyloops.com/free brush. And I'm just kind of doing like a carefree style, just kind of adding some extra bounce and extra flourishes as I go, trying to make it feel very loose and carefree and open, and adding just a lot of like character and style to it. And I love the iPad because you can see I'm undoing. If I do a stroke that I don't like, I can tap with 2 fingers on the screen to undo it and then try again. Here I'm using a pointed pen to show you how to write November in Copperplate Calligraphy. So in the end, you can see it starts and ends with an upstroke, and the upstrokes are always thin, and then the downstrokes are thick. So with a pointed pen, you can add pressure, like I just did here in the O, to create that thick line. Also, I just realized that this video is a little bit out of focus, so I apologize for that, but hopefully you can enjoy the calligraphy and maybe even enjoy the nib sounds, those scratchy sounds on the paper. Now we're going to flourish the copperplate style. So here in the N, I'm beginning the stem with a downstroke instead of an upstroke, and then curving it around and finishing it with a flourish. And then on the final upstroke of the N, I'm also continuing it through with another curve just to add a flourish. And then in the rest of the word, I'm going to pick a couple spots. So the letters O, V, and E are not very good letters for adding a flourish, just because it could affect the legibility of those individual letters. So I'm going to pick a couple other places in this word to add a flourish. Now I'm writing November in the Spencerian script, and just from the first stroke of this letter, it doesn't really look like an N. The first stem of it is actually called an indirect oval, but then once you add on the right side of the letter, then it starts to look more like an N. And for this one, I'm going to connect the N directly into the letter O. After this, I'll show you a flourished version where the N is not going to connect into the O. The flourish that I'm demonstrating here is a really fancy way that you can add a flourish to any letter that begins with this indirect oval shape. And as promised, I'm going to be flourishing the last part of this N instead of connecting it directly to the O. So I'll start the O entrance stroke below the baseline within that flourished area. And once again, I apologize that the video is a little bit out of focus here. And then when I get to the end of this word, I'm going to finish with another flourish on the R, and this flourish is kind of going to mimic the shape of the flourish on the N. Thanks so much for watching. Please don't forget to check the description for tons of free resources on our site on learning calligraphy, and please give this video a like and subscribe to our channel so that we can continue making videos like this one.